Good evening, Niner faithful. Welcome to another episode of the live Sneakerhead call-in show, as we do every Thursday, talking about what channel members want to talk about. If you want to become a sneakerhead, it's real easy to do. All you got to do is subscribe to the channel. After you've done that, there's a little button there that says join. It'll give you some options to join the channel as well. If you are a sneakerhead and you're looking for the way in which you can call in, over there on the chat tab, you should see a link that I put in there before. I am putting it in one more time. That link will take you over to the community tab on my YouTube page, wherein if you are a sneakerhead, you will be able to view the call-in link. That will take you to StreamYard. You'll be backstage. Now, you don't have to put on your video. If you are uncomfortable with the idea of putting yourself on camera and you just want to call in using your voice, that's totally fine. You have that option. When you log into StreamYard, it will let you turn on, turn off your camera, and just use a microphone if that's what you prefer. So we will get to your topics in just a minute. Want to acknowledge those already in the chat. Coming in early, Raphael 5629er. Coming in, what's up, Rob, and everyone. Dustin Kohler going to be with me at the draft next month. Tap, tap. Is this thing on? Hello. Ellis remarking that we got likes coming in. Hey, if you enjoy the content, please do hit that like button. Get this thing started. Yes, Charles Thurman, Sneakerhead on the channel, coming back in. Let's get the party started. We are here. Draco pimping. What's up, Rob? What's up, Draco? Good to see you. All right, we will get into this. Our first guest today, we are bringing on that Niner guy. That Niner guy, how you doing this fine Thursday afternoon? Oh, you're muted.
Can you hear me?
Got it.
Yeah, man, I couldn't be doing any better. Just on the work grind, calling in to check in on my guy here.
Nice.
There we go.
What were your thoughts on, the news/not news that we got this week coming in from the owners' meeting? How did you interpret the comments made in kind by Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, and Jed York? Did you take anything specific from it?
No, I mean nobody should. I mean, listen, everyone knows what they're doing. It's not a bluff anymore because it's a proven plan. So the plan's blown up in their face, and now they're trying to save face and figure out their next steps. So the interesting thing is, how does this realistically end? And it really only ends with a cut, unless Carolina saves them.
Right. You see this as needing a miracle in order to trade Jimmy, but the most likely scenario being that eventually we get to a hard line in the sand and the 49ers are forced with the reality of cutting Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, the only way I could see him staying is he restructured his contract.
Right. And
he won't do that.
Well, I wonder about that one. So if we play that hypothetical through, like at that point, you've gotten to, I don't know, July. He can throw. Nobody's interested. I mean, maybe you're even through some of the preseason at that point. I wonder if he would change his tune, because at that point, if you're getting released, then you're going to need to renegotiate with somebody. You're going to have to start from scratch when it comes to your contractual, framework. If he does want to stay in San Francisco, which you could interpret him getting the shoulder surgery when he did as one of two things. You could interpret it as, hey, sort of F you type of thing, a little bit of the, sending that signal to the 49ers, or you could see it as, hey, I don't want to be traded and I'm going to do something that prevents me from being traded. So it's just a question of what Jimmy's mindset is in this regard. But I am more open to the idea of him renegotiating the contract at this point. I think he may be too.
Well, the thing is, for Jimmy to have a successful season, where's he going to have the best odds to do that?
Right.
And even in the trade scenarios, the best option was here the whole time.
The best team, right? For sure.
There is no in between. Pittsburgh's good, but they're not as good as the Niners. They're also in a really hard division. You go run through Indianapolis, they can't beat Tennessee, so that's a big red flag right there.
Right.
All the teams have that. The only team that's been successfully winning when they're healthy is the 49ers. So that's his first best choice without question.
That is so. Yeah, I think that it's absolutely the best option for him. I can't imagine. I can't imagine there are scenarios where if he doesn't start for San Francisco, like there is a chance that he is not a starter in the league. With the way in which the dominoes fell, the way in which the musical chairs unfolded, I'm beginning to wrap my mind around that idea that it's possible that Jimmy isn't starting for somebody this season. I didn't think that was a possibility, but I'm beginning to come around to it.
Well, the thing that Jesse's always said, and I really agree with him, Jimmy could be out of the league in 2 years. I think that's a real possibility because of just I don't think he wants to be a backup. I think he likes having a lot of money, and I don't know. Has he really improved? I mean, that's the thing. Has he really gone on his craft and gotten better? And the answer to that is an astounding no.
It'll be interesting to see if he looks good when he's not in a Kyle Shanahan system, because certainly when he first came to the 49ers, it wasn't Kyle Shanahan's system that made him look as good as he did in those 5 games. But once he got into the system, like you said, it didn't seem like there was all that much progression. So was that such a small sample size that it's difficult to say? Or was it, being a little bit freer allowed him to show off his skill set, and potentially in a new offensive system, he's able to go back to that? I honestly don't know. I am very anxious to see him play for anyone other than the 49ers, so I get a better sense of what type of quarterback Jimmy is.
Yeah, well, the thing that Jimmy always had was that he didn't have a lot of tape out there until 2019. That's sort of the deal. Was like, I think Niner fans kind of saw firsthand with Kaepernick, right? When you got 16 games of tape on Kaepernick, he wasn't the same player. Now, he was still a dominating athlete and could take over games, but he wasn't the best player on the field anymore.
No.
And Jimmy, when he got to around that same point, you saw him start to crumble a bit at the end of the 2019 season. So I don't know, man. It's a really tough situation for the team.
Real tough. Bringing in a couple of comments here. We got Alan coming in at Rob Schuh. Good evening, Thursday, one and all. How's it going? That Niners guy. A little shout out to that Niners guy. Charles Thurman coming in at Rob. Trade Jimmy and a couple of picks for Brian Burns. Even throw in D Ford. Well, I think D Ford is getting released in the near future. That's sort of surprising to me that we didn't see another season where the Niners try to get a few snaps out of D Ford, but there's some relief to it as well. But this is one that I know Brad Graham is trying to speak into existence. He has been putting Brian Burns out there repeatedly. He's been talking about this since the combine. He and I sat next to each other in the stands at Lucas Oil Stadium, and he was making the pitch for Brian Burns at that time. Do you think there's any way that the Niners get this creative with a trade and bring back a considerable asset, even if they have to throw in some of their own picks, some considerable picks in order to get it done?
Possibly, but I don't think it'd be for Brian Burns because you're going to have literally 2 guys make $50 million plus annually on your defensive line.
Yeah, that would be tough.
That would be really tough, not including Armstead. So
right.
That's the tricky part of that. Maybe they do it for a free safety. I don't know. Maybe an offensive lineman. Again, I don't know. But to be honest, I think the tribe has kind of spoken on Jimmy. And
yeah. The only thing that remains a question unknown is what impact the surgery had, right? Had the surgery not popped onto the radar, would this trade have gotten done? I remain convicted that it would have, but I realize I'm in the minority in believing that. And when facts come out that say differently, I'll be willing to admit that I was wrong. I've got no problem doing that. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's hard to fathom the idea that someone won't believe that they can take Jimmy and turn their organization, around into an immediate contender with that addition of a solid quarterback who, yes, has his flaws, yes, makes his mistakes, but can lift up the locker room and guys want to play hard for him. To me, it'll be shocking if we don't see Jimmy out there on the field, and frustrating in that regard as well, because I believe the Niners were due some compensation.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kyle basically said as much on Tuesday. Like, he basically said, we think we've had a trade in place, and then he had the surgery and things got derailed. So yeah. I think the Niners felt good about it and were blindsided by the news, and now are going into the same game they played with Colin Kaepernick back in 17 or 18 when they said, listen, we're going to wait you out and then we're going to cut you. And I think it's going to be a very similar situation unless, again, they catch an amazing break, which you don't root for anyone to get hurt, but
No.
that's sort of the situation they're at.
Yes, it is the type of situation that they're at. Swan Song is waiting in the weeds saying, oh, I need to respond to that. I like that. I like the enthusiasm. Raphael 5629ers doing the good deed, asking folks to like and subscribe. Steve-O Supremo, I don't know which one of us said this, but Steve-O pointing out, you can't start by saying, to be honest, or people won't listen unless you start out saying that. I don't know if that was me or you. I am quite capable of saying something like that. Just one of those expressions that finds its way into your vocabulary and sometimes comes out multiple times, like me with the word indeed. I like to say that a lot when I go back and rewatch myself.
No, Rob should start every show saying, to be honest, I think the Niners are going to get Von Miller, Chandler Jones, and Allen Robinson. That's how he should start.
To be honest about it. To be honest. About it. All right, that's fantastic. Got anything else on your mind, that Niner guy?
No, man, I'm good. I just want to check in with you guys and check in with the faithful over here. If you have a roundtable, I know you're cutting it close tonight, but I'll hop back in for that.
Perfect. I love it. I have the heart out at 6, but if we get back to that roundtable, it's one of my favorite things to do. So I will see you hopefully in a little bit. All right, we will transition on over to Korean 49er. How you doing this afternoon, man?
Can you hear me, Rob?
Yes, sir. We got the audio on the first attempt. I'm here for that.
There we go. So, to me, what came out of the owners' meeting was just more regular, just generic speak. To me, just be as bland and mediocre sounding as possible. No reason to let any cats out of the bag.
Right.
Per se.
Coach speak, business speak, like whatever you want to call it. It's the art of saying nothing while saying a lot. A lot of words, but zero meaning, really.
Yeah. So did you hear what Grant said about Jimmy earlier this week?
I may have heard about it. I don't think I saw it live because I just haven't had the chance to tune in quite as much. But what was he saying? I may have heard it through some of the channel, right? It may have made its way through Twitter, and I may have seen the topic come up.
Supposedly, Grant said he knows a guy who was in my neck of the woods outside Chicago, and they saw Jimmy at a club with his group. So he struck a conversation with Jimmy, said, yeah, I'm a huge 49ers fan, and then they just kept talking, and then he brought up Grant's name, and then Jimmy just kind of didn't say much afterwards.
I tell you what, though, I don't know if I could blame him. I mean, Jimmy, Grant does a great job of starting conversations, and Jimmy has been the butt of many a joke on Grant's channel. So if I were Jimmy Garoppolo and I had caught wind of those things being said about me, I'm not sure I would necessarily speak to someone who I thought might get back to Grant, because then anything I say is on the record. So he just kind of clammed up after finding out that gentleman knew Grant. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me all too much.
My thing about Jimmy is I've heard this from the CBA on why they're not saying anything about cutting Jimmy while he's injured. Right. They can actually sue the 49ers in court. They could take that, the Players Association can file a grievance against the 49ers doing it. So that's, to me, I kind of figured that out after a while, and I was like, okay, just let the powder stay dry, and then when the time comes, pull it and do what you got to do.
So you think that they may just be holding on to him until they get past that technicality, and then as soon as he's healthy, then they may release him? Yeah, there's a lot of speculation that could be the case. And quite honestly, I mean, that option is open to people to file a grievance. I don't know the strict legal language of it, and so I won't really dance around it, but that is an option that's open to Jimmy Garoppolo. My understanding would be that because of the injury, if he were released, they would just owe him that $7.5 million. I could see him then going after more of the contract in a grievance, but quite honestly, with the result of most of those, they seem to break with the teams, with the league as it's set up by the owners. The grievance process is agreed to by the owners, so you can imagine that they don't give much leverage to the Players Association.
Yeah, but that's always one of those things where, if you understand labor law, that at least for NFL labor law, that's one of those kind of things that you find out as you kind of dig deep into, legalese and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Totally. So what do you think ends up being the case? You believe that Jimmy gets healthy, clears a physical, and then he's released?
Yep.
Nice.
But to me, I don't see him getting picked up. I can see him saying, hey, I've got $100 million in the bank. Why do I need to take all this abuse for? I'm going to get out while I'm, with my head held high.
Yeah.
I
I believe it. I'm going to bring in a comment here, Kim. Melvin talking about @Rob. I can't see Jimmy being the backup. The friction it would cause wouldn't be worth it. Even if he renegotiated his contract, he'd create too much friction just sitting on the bench. If he's not released, if we get to a scenario where the 49ers say, hey, we believe Jimmy has value. No other team apparently believes Jimmy has value, so we're not able to trade him. But we're going to keep him on our team because we don't think that you should just release an asset out there to go sign with whomever they want to sign with. But we'll renegotiate the contract. They get that worked out some way. Jimmy stays as a hypothetical backup. Do you see that as a nightmare scenario? Do you see that as, hey, that's just normal competition within a football team? What's your view on the potential of Jimmy being here as a backup quarterback or someone competing to be the starter?
There's one scenario I see where it's not a potential nightmare.
Yeah.
And that's if Trey goes down early in training camp with the season-ending injury. Like
right.
Teddy
Then it would
Bridgewater.
become a season-saving type of a move.
Then it is, and it is what it is situation. I don't ever foresee the Teddy Bridgewater going down and trading a first and a fourth for Sam Bradford happening again. That's the only one I know of.
Yeah. I mean, that would be knock on wood. That ain't happening. But agreed. That insurance policy of having Jimmy there feels like the only benefit of having that solid backup quarterback. I mean, they have shown us they're willing to roll with a subpar backup in Nate Sudfeld because they want to save some money there. So to me, it doesn't make any sense that they are going to roll with Jimmy Garoppolo as that backup. Jay Batts comes in @Rob Schuh. Not a popular opinion, but if they have a true quarterback competition and Jimmy wins it, I wouldn't mind if he came back under a restructured deal. At least then he would have earned his spot. You see any way that happens of Jimmy coming back and earning that starting role and then renegotiating that contract?
If I'm Jimmy, why would I want to renegotiate?
Right. I think that's true. If you win the starting job, then you're getting paid your $27 million.
Yeah. Yep, that's where I see it. I'm not, Jimmy is what he is. There's no reason for me to continually bash him now. I mean, to me, it's all just based on playing on the field. It's not, he didn't run over my dog and then shoot it or anything like that. Being absurd, of course. So, is he a decent guy? I assume so. But, there's just things that I've always had questions on about him.
That's fair. And I think he is the type of quarterback that you should probably have some questions about. You got anything else on your mind?
Yes. One last point. To me,
hit me.
I don't want the 49ers to go try and find more depth because we got more depth pieces than expected on this team. And that's never a bad thing, but I would like to see more starting caliber talent being picked up through the draft because, who knows if any of the some of the surplus offensive linemen we have will become at least a starter for a year. To me, I don't think Brunskill is a starter. I think he's more of a fill-in kind of player for a few games here and there on an as-needed basis.
Right. So you see it as the 49ers have great depth, but they're struggling with some of those starting positions. You see that as being unique to the offensive line, or are there other position groups where you see that as well?
A little bit on the offensive line, a little bit on the defensive line, on the lines of scrimmage. Not, they could always use. I think they have 2.5 receivers because I think Juwan Jennings is a solid slot, but they don't utilize him as much as they should.
The one I worry about with depth versus starters is definitely the safety spot. It feels as if they've just got a bunch of depth and they're like, well, one of them will rise to the top. Like, somebody will fight it out and declare themselves the starter there. And that always feels like a risky strategy. Sure, it might work out and it might work out splendidly. You might find the next great safety and get them at a value because they're on an inexpensive contract. But you might also find out that you just have a bunch of depth and no true starter at the position.
Exactly. If they traded Jimmy to Carolina for Jeremy Chin, their safety, I take that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I like the idea of getting creative with these player trades. That to me strikes me as a good way to finally get a Jimmy deal done. Is allow for to get away from the draft picks, get away from teams obsessing over this second round valuation of Jimmy Garoppolo, and let's just trade players. Let's trade salaries.
Yep. So, all right. Thank you,
I
Rob,
dig
for
it.
taking my call.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure talking to you, my friend. All right. We will bring in Swan Song. Got a couple of comments that I want to get to real quick. Charles Thurman coming in at Rob. In all honesty, I think if Jimmy's there in training camp, I think that would cause a locker room split. A split locker room. I tend to agree that it's a nightmare scenario, to have Jimmy there from a human perspective. It just strikes me as something that is extremely, extremely stressful. Extreme Niner fan coming in at Rob. I really like your personality and positivity. Seems like you're a really good friend to have. I appreciate that, Extreme Niner fan. You can ask this man, Dirk Pippen, who has known me a long time. Dirk coming in like he wants that stain. No way, Jimmy is cool as a cucumber in Animal House. You know the one I am talking about. Dirk Pippen in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Elvis coming in, Sneakerhead here on the channel at Rob. How's it going, Mr. Schuh? And how's it going, my fellow Sneakerheads? And let's go, Team Trey. I'm telling you, we have got to get Trey on the field and not have the drama in the locker room. All right, Steve-O Supremo at Rob. Nice to see you. Been a while on for a short time, but thoughts on Kinlaw this year? I'm excited about Kinlaw. I think he is going to have a bounce back season. I see this as absolutely where he can declare what type of player that he is. I saw him on Brad's channel, the SF Niners, and I loved that interview. I loved that energy that he is putting out there. That would be fantastic. A reclamation project trying to make up for the loss of this man right here. You know I'm going to feel that loss of DJ Jones, but it would be that much easier if Kinlaw can have a great season. One more, and then we're on to Swan Song. Alan Eliza coming in. What's up, Alan? At Rob Schuh. I think the Niners getting Cole Strange at 61 or in the third. When do you think they pick him up? I think the sweet spot is probably somewhere just after 61. So maybe they trade back, gain an extra pick, and take Cole Strange with that one. As long as they bring in that man with the soft-spoken nature, but the nasty playing style, I will be a happy camper. All right, Swan Song is coming into the program. Swan Song, how you doing, my friend?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for having me, Rob.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to have you on. What is on your mind for the 49ers right now?
So I was just listening to what you and Niner guy was talking about. I don't think in any scenario, Jimmy G coming back on the roster is a good idea. Even if we renegotiated to $5 million, which Jimmy wouldn't take anyways, right?
Right.
Like even if we got him for $5 million, what is in it for Jimmy? If he goes in at $5 million, then for sure he's going to be the backup, right? As far as the Niners see it, right? And if he's the backup, how is he going to play for a contract? If he's just sitting on the bench, how is any team how does that change anything, right?
How's he going to earn that next deal?
Right. And I think just because we saw teams get quarterbacks, right? Like Pittsburgh with Trubisky, that's like my prime example. Because if you look at Trubisky's contract, he's only making $5 million guaranteed for 2 years. That's a backup QB money. Right.
Yeah. And it's 2 years, 14 mil at the max end of it. Right. So even if he plays lights out, it's not like he gets paid like a premium quarterback or anywhere close to it.
Right. So if Jimmy got cut, Pittsburgh would be all over sniffing around Jimmy, because then
1,000%.
They can negotiate a contract that's, within reason. Right. Of course, he's not going to make 25, maybe 15 million. That's reasonable. They could take that. They would rather have two QBs like Trubisky and Jimmy compete for the job. And if Jimmy loses, then fine. You live with that him being a backup. And if their contract structured in a way, they can just plain cut him. Like, who knows? I mean, they would have to work out that contract, right? But it's in Jimmy's interest to go right now. The only way for him to make 27 million is in a trade, which is looking less likely, right?
Right.
Or, I mean, that's it, right? Like, if he gets cut, he's not, or playing on the Niners. Yeah, that's right. He can still play on the Niners.
He can. That is an unfortunate reality that still exists.
And to premise all of this, I think at this point, when we heard that John Lynch found out that, during the combine, when John Lynch was blindsided that Jimmy got that operation, got that surgery, I think now at the point the Niners and Jimmy Garoppolo they're dealing in bad faith right now, right? Because once you do that, that's it. Bad faith is now part of the equation. They're pissed. They have to be pissed.
It's hard to repair that relationship, especially if what Shanahan said is true, which is they're not really talking to Jimmy. Jimmy's not a communicative guy, he said.
Yeah, and if I was Jimmy, I get it. He would have, he thought he was going to be the franchise QB.
Right.
He's as far from a team perspective, he's done great, right? Like if he's among family, they're saying, Jimmy, man, you took him to the Super Bowl, you took him to the NFC Championship game, blah, blah, blah. Of course, fans know a different way. Analysts know it a different way, as in like, hey, we kind of got carried in there. Sure, he was professional enough to be all those things, but you know that argument. So
right.
The thing is, Jimmy, like, he doesn't feel good about this. He wants to, if he has any inkling of wanting to start again to resurrect his career, he has to do it on the field. Most likely it's not going to be on the 49ers. Most likely it's going to be another team. So
right.
The other teams, like the Panthers, are the only one that makes sense, right? They're under pressure. They're the only team right now that doesn't have a QB that they can kind of sell to the fans. And Matt Rule they're probably on their last year, right?
Yes,
so
he is on the hot seat. He's got to have a winning season.
So we're here back playing chicken with the Panthers, right? Before we were playing chicken with the rest of the league. Now it's just the Panthers, right? So who knows where that goes? They have Sam Darnold's contract to worry about, unless something creative happens, like in a deal where maybe like Kruger, I don't remember his first name. Larry Kruger.
Yes.
Said about like possibly swapping Darnold and Garoppolo, redoing Darnold's contract where he makes backup money-ish, right? And then Carolina, of course, if they give assets to Jimmy, they would redo his contract, and Jimmy and Donnie would have to be reasonable here too. It's like, hey, we'll give you 2 years at, let's say, how about $35 million or whatever,
Right.
They're not going to say 2 years, $50 million. They're dreaming if that's going to happen. And that's what it's going to come down to. If all level heads come to the point where, hey, Jimmy, dude, there's just not a lot of places. And sure, the 49ers can cut you, and that's probably what everyone is seeing what the 49ers would do. I'm sure for most GMs and things, no, there's no way the 49ers are going to bring, they'd have to be doubling down if they bring Jimmy back on this team, like literally doubling down, right? And all these teams have already called the 49ers bluff already, right?
Yes.
Like they've called it. Granted, the injury and stuff made it a lot easier for them to say that, right? Because to me, the injury thing is the ultimate negotiation factor, right? I don't think if teams really wanted him, right, that injury thing that he has, from all we know, has a really high prognosis. Let's put it this way. If Jimmy G was Mahomes or Watson or any of these top 5 QBs, they wouldn't even think about this injury. They'd be okay.
Well, what you're saying here is that if Jimmy were viewed to be a quality quarterback option, or a starting level quarterback, and teams were genuinely interested, they would have gotten a deal done despite the shoulder injury. But because he is that middle tier, it became a negotiating tactic, and it became enough for some teams to move off and to go to a lesser option in some cases,
right,
but still one that didn't involve Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I think this is where the 49ers messed this up a little bit, is because I think they should have stayed more fluid to the situation. Sure, right. The injury thing, although it's a negotiation factor that the teams are doing, the Niners are thinking, man, this has 100 prognosis. You guys are using this as a negotiation factor. But hey, that's the cards. I mean, that's how it played out. You have to pivot to how it played out. You can't just stay firm and expect it to be done, or you're in this situation right here. So at this point, I think the smartest move the 49ers could do right now is what they're doing, right? Like, I think it's right now is damage mitigation, right? It's how can we get out of this cleanly without looking like we messed up so bad, right?
Yeah.
And they have excuses, they have outs, because no one predicted that the QB situation was going to be like this. No one predicted Watson was going to get out of, go chargeless, right, and be out in the open market. No one predicted Brady was going to come back. No, I don't think people predicted that even Russell Wilson was going to go to Denver, right?
Yeah, I think there were 4 unexpected sort of dominoes. I agree. Russell Wilson was one of them. Tom Brady coming back as soon as he did was another one. Like if he had come back at the end of the summer, that would have been different. Hopefully all the dominoes would have settled and that wouldn't have changed things quite as much. But Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, and I would add to your Deshaun Watson certainly in there. I would add to your list Matt Ryan. Like if it were not for the Deshaun Watson domino falling the way that it did, and then him flirting with Atlanta in the way that Atlanta was guilty of and soiling the relationship with Matt Ryan, like that didn't seem like it was going to melt down until the Deshaun Watson domino hit. And then all of a sudden you had Matt Ryan. And if I'm Indy, I'm taking Matt Ryan too, especially for a 3rd round.
Right, especially for a bridge, because at that point, you're not caring so much about Matt Ryan's age, right? Because he's going to be bridging 2 years, right? And if you're going to have Jimmy as a bridge for 2 years, what's the difference? I mean, Matt Ryan could still do it, right? He's proven that he could still do it. So, so it's like, I think that's what the 49ers are doing right now. I hope, I'm crossing my fingers that damage mitigation mode is in, right? I didn't like what Jed said, of course, saying, hey, if Steve Young could wait, why can't Trey?
Right.
Like, come on.
Yeah. You don't have Joe Montana, Jed.
Yeah.
You don't have Joe Montana.
Yeah. Like that's apples and oranges. And I will give Jed, he did say one thing that I did like. And he said, and this is where I think positive, is he said, things went well for us. We made it to the NFC Championship game, right? But it could have easily been where we didn't.
Right.
Right? Like, I mean, all the 49ers fan, I get it. Yeah, we're NFC Championship games. But when we got there, it didn't feel that solid, people. You got to be honest. Like, we expected a rookie to win week 17, right? He did, right? That happened. We were down by 17 points in the 3rd quarter. Something like that.
Pretty wild.
Of the Rams, right? Sweep that by, beat Dallas. We did good, but almost choked that game, right?
Yeah.
Needed the hand of God in Green Bay, right, to win that game in a 10-7 game versus MVP Aaron Rodgers. Like, come on. Like, these are the things that you look back in 20 years and you go, damn, how did we make it to the NFC Championship?
Right? All these things had to go right.
So that was the positive of this season. I remember this season. Like, usually I don't remember seasons where we don't win the Super Bowl. Like, I try not to remember. This one will be more stuck in my memory because of how we got there. And of course, all the contention with, Trey Lance and Jimmy G that we started the whole year. But please, I'm praying to God, do not have a situation where Jimmy goes to camp, because I do not want to see how that plays out. And this is not about me being unconfident in Trey Lance. This has everything to being unconfident in human interaction. Not confident with that. That is where I'm not confident.
Is the locker room dynamic of having Jimmy and Trey in the building?
Yes. Like, you don't know what's going to happen, right? You don't know what's going to happen there. Yeah. Trey Lance could beat him outright and everything is kumbaya, right? Or realistically, maybe they're kind of neck and neck. And then what are some of the players going to go? Well, if they're neck and neck, let's go with Jimmy, because we know what we're going to get with Jimmy, right?
Right.
But the point of getting Trey Lance was to get better, was to not maybe perhaps win it the first year. Yeah, that'd be great if he was Mahomes, right? But that's not how I look at it. I look at it as we're trying to do this to get better. Do you play golf, Rob?
On occasion. Okay. I play golf poorly is how I play golf.
Yeah, okay. But the term never up, never in.
Yes.
Right? Jimmy G is never up in this analogy, right? If never up, never in. You can't think that, we're going to have a team that expect like Frank Reich, or I'm thinking of all the mediocre QBs that won Super Bowls, Trent Dilfer.
Right.
First of all, those teams, I'm not saying no shade on our defense. Our defense is amazing, but those two teams are like all-time teams. They're like best defense
NFL
all
great
time.
defenses.
Yeah, like literally, right? So I'm not saying that. I mean, our defense I think it's amazing, but it's not up to that point yet, right? It's not up to the point where you have a defense that there's just stifling people. Like,
right.
Look, if you look at those teams, they're allowing like 10, 11 points a game back then.
Yeah,
you know, it's like
and knocking people's heads off.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Physically dominating games.
Yeah, so it's like we got Trey Lance so he can make everyone better. We got Trey Lance to do all those things. He might not show that the first year, but that's what you expect. And
right.
That
you have to be patient with him.
Right.
He's going to have growing pains.
And with the hope that, yes, maybe he will have a great year. Because like these quarterbacks that come out now, it's not like back in the 80s and 90s. Quarterbacks come now, they're more equipped to play this game. You had quarterbacks that came out in the 80s and 90s. They just came from an era where literally in college football, you're running it all the time.
Right.
Right. Where now,
I mean, Lance had so few passes.
Right. And that is true. And that is true about but that's perfect in the way that the 49ers run their offense. This is a balanced offense. It's 50-50 down. Like if you look at the passing plays and running plays for the 49ers, it's 50-50. And you know what it was during the Walsh days? It was like 50-50. Like,
how about that? How about that? A balanced offense.
Yeah, but the reason why we call the Niners a running team, this team, is because we don't see the big splash plays where, like the old 49er teams did. And why do you think we don't do that? I mean,
the big splash plays come in the running game and not in the passing game.
Right. And then if it comes, it's because Debo housed it for a 5-yard pass and housed it, right?
Right.
Not saying that the 80s Niners didn't have 80s and 90s Niners didn't have that too, but there was a long game, a consistent long game element that those Niners team has that we don't have. And then you need to have that to make teams honest. And the way that teams defend us now, they are not honest. And that's why last year seemed so damn hard. If you're a Niner fan and you watch those games, it was hard on offense, man. I don't even even after the Green Bay game, I was telling people, man, we have a 0-dimensional offense. Like, I don't see anything working. And then, Kyle and them, they committed to the run. They did what they needed to do, and they did an awesome job at that. But it showed itself again in the NFC Championship game, right?
Yes.
So it's like, we need to keep teams honest, and that hope is Trey Lance.
That hope is Trey Lance, because he's going to be able to push the ball down the field, and it will change the offense. Swan Song, I got a couple of folks down in the waiting room that I got to jump to, but if we got time, we could come back to it, because I know we're still spitting right here. But this has been a great call.
Yeah, I'm down to talk again, but I thank you for the time.
Absolutely. Thank you for the call. We will see you again soon. If not this week, if we still got more callers, we'll hit it next week.
Okay, right on.
All right, Swan Song. All right, we are bringing Jerome in. I just want to hit a couple of little chats first before I do. But Jerome, you're up next, coming in, and then we got William Bennett in the house. The Golden Fang coming in at Rob Schuh. McGlinchey, Kinlaw, and Banks. There lies the 2022 season. I've been sitting on this comment because I actually kind of agree with that one. You are relying on the health of Mike McGlinchey coming back and holding down that right tackle spot. You're counting on Javon Kinlaw to step in and fill the role of DJ Jones. Big shoes to fill. And Aaron Banks is hypothetically your starting left guard. Sitting next to Williams, that helps him out some. But those three players could have a significant impact on the Niners 2022 season. Andre Moore coming in at Rob Schuh. Let's ask Shanahan if he can post some videos of Kinlaw working out from his office window. He did say that in the comments from the owners meeting, and I found that to be amusing as well. All right, I am looking in the comments just to make sure that we're good. I saw some Rams fans in there, but I'm okay with that. Rams fans are welcome to be in the chat so long as it is respectful. Okay, fantastic. We look like we're good and caught up. I'll get to some comments in a bit. We are bringing Jerome into the stream. Jerome, how you doing
Rob.
This afternoon?
Good. How are you doing, man?
I am doing very well. As I was saying at the beginning of the broadcast, my best friend and his daughter, one of his daughters, are in town. They're visiting. I'm very excited. We're going to go grab dinner after this. We're going to be hanging out for a couple of days. So my spirits are high in that regard.
Always a great time. Always a great
yes,
time.
Yes, it is.
Thank you for having me on. It's like my first time calling in on any of this.
Well, I'm thrilled that you are here on the Sneakerhead program. Let me tell you.
Usually I like to do that chat, but it was too many words. But really, I want to call in because just to start off, like, I love Trey Lance. I'm a huge Trey Lance fan. I was all about him even during the draft when the Niners traded up. I was already looking at quarterbacks because I knew the Niners needed a quarterback.
Right.
And I looked at all of them, Mac Jones, Fields, and honestly, I narrowed it down to Fields and Lance.
Very impressive tape, right?
Yeah, very. And what I loved about Lance is something that if you understanding Shanahan and his system and why I was on him to begin with before he was drafted was because Shanahan values that pre-snap read.
Yes.
He values that. That's what he wants all his quarterbacks to have. And he wants his quarterbacks
read and dissect a defense.
Right. He recognizes the defense, knows whether his play is going to work or not. And so then he just athletic ability and the fact that he worked from behind center and from shotgun and turned his back to the defense in order to run his play action. And he didn't a lot of his QBs he kind of had to teach that to.
Yes.
And Trey Lance, he wouldn't have to teach that to. Anyway, that's why
and I found that to be interesting that Trey Lance had the fewest passing attempts of any of those consensus tier 1 quarterbacks coming out of the draft there, but the most snaps doing play action under center. Like, it was a weird dichotomy to both have the fewest snaps to throw passes, but actually practice what Shanahan would want to see in turning his back to the defense, play action, turn back around, take the shot.
Exactly. And well, in saying that, Lance being young, I'm not worried about him. People are like, oh, poor Trey Lance, having to be in the room with Jimmy.
Right.
He should have started. Shanahan's so mean to him. It's like, I honestly, he's a professional. He understood what's up. And I honestly believe John and I believe Kyle when they say we talk honestly to our players. They may not talk honestly to you or I.
I believe that because players respect them, and players do not respect people who are two-faced, right? If I'm not being communicated to as a grown man, as a business person, then I'm not going to respect you. But very clearly, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are respected by their players. I think that's strong evidence of what you're suggesting there. And
I honestly believe that they told Trey, you missed 2020 season. You have one game under your belt.
Right.
We believe in you. We think you could probably win the quarterback competition, but just sit, learn from Jimmy. We got you. And if we have to start you, we're going to start you. No problem. Don't worry about it. And the season played out and Kyle was like, oh, it looks like we're going to have to start Trey Lance.
Right.
But then we started that win streak and it's like, oh, let's not mess up our chemistry. And so, everybody knows what happened. But I honestly believe that Trey Lance knew what the deal was from the get-go.
Yes. So I agree with that wholeheartedly. Let me posit this to you, though. I think that I don't think year one was a detriment to anybody's growth, to Trey Lance. I agree. He's a professional. He's a grown man, even though he's only 21. And he knew the situation coming in. It was Jimmy's locker room. He was going to have to be sort of that respectful guy in the wings that eventually took over that position. I would argue that dynamic changed in season 2, that it was Jimmy's expectation that he was leaving this organization. Mm-hmm. I thought it was strongly evidenced in the way in which he said goodbye to everyone, right? That to me is like emotional disconnect from San Francisco, ready to move on. So I don't think it would be easy for him to come back. And then in Trey speaking, he basically acknowledged that, he had been told it would be his going forward. And then he walked it back. He said, well, that's my expectation for myself, that I will earn that role and that I'll be the starter for this team going forward. But I think it's fair to assume someone told him along the way, hey, Trey, this is your time, right? We're going to trade Jimmy. That's the plan in the offseason. It's yours. So I do think that this year is different in that dynamic. And that's my long-winded question to you is, do you believe that year 2, there's any emotional damage that could happen in keeping both quarterbacks on the roster? Or is it the same to you as year one where they're professionals, they got to deal with it?
They're not keeping both quarterbacks. I'm with you on that. He's getting cut by what is it, August 1st or
right. Whenever his salary it becomes guaranteed on the week one. Yeah.
Yes. And so I honestly, they'll carry him all the way up until 18th hour and then cut him. But if he can throw, teams will call. Teams will call him like, all right, maybe we want him. Maybe we don't want Seattle to get him on the
right. Because eventually you have to think that, like, if you're not his favorite destination, then it doesn't help you if he gets cut. It hurts you because then he gets to choose where he goes. So if you're not number one on Jimmy's list, you need to trade for him to lock him down.
Right.
Yeah.
And really, I don't think Carolina will walk it back with Sam Darnold. Matt Rule is on the hot seat, and Jimmy can help him.
Nice.
I help him win some games anyway.
Yeah, right.
But
absolutely,
my honest opinion, I think that's what's happening with them, with the whole thing.
Let me bring in this super chat real quick. It's been a few minutes. My apologies, Edgardo Rodriguez coming in. Do you see Jimmy playing until the bye week? So this goes back to what we were just talking about. I don't. I do not view Jimmy practicing or playing for the 49ers at all. I believe they're bluffing. I don't think they want him on their roster. They paid Nate Sudfeld backup money. I do not believe they want to carry 3 quarterbacks. If they did, they would want that last quarterback to be able to be stashed on the practice squad, and they gave too much guaranteed money to Nate Sudfeld for it to make sense to put him on the practice squad. And so to me, Jimmy doesn't practice. Jimmy doesn't play. So no, I don't think he plays until the bye week there.
You can't risk injury.
That's right, because then the $25 million gets locked in, and maybe he doesn't play a snap, and you spent that salary. So to me, that's a non-starter.
Right. So as soon as he could throw that ball, they'll cut him, but that's when teams will probably give a call.
Yes.
At least test the water and stuff. And
yeah, little tap. Hey, I'm here. Let me talk to you about Jimmy for a second. And then HR coming in to share the positivity. I dig it. Sneakerhead here on the channel saying things are going great. Life's never been better. I like sharing the positivity because I think it's important for people to hear. If something's not going well for you, hey, in the near future, you may be saying that statement. That things are going great in your life. That's how I'm feeling today with family and friends in town.
Yes.
Yes, great. Indeed. Got any other thoughts on your mind? Otherwise, I got a few in the waiting room. I'm going to hit Elvis and William Bennett down below.
To speak up for Trey that I'm a believer in him, and just relax. It's going to be okay.
Relax. That makes 2 of us, Jerome. I am a believer as well. I have faith. I have faith in the young gentleman.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you again. And I love your show, Rob.
Thank you. It's absolutely a pleasure having you on. This was a great first call. Thank you so much for calling in, Jerome. I hope to see you in the future.
Yes. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right. We are bringing in Elvis, and then we're closing out on William. William's going to be our last caller who's going to take us home. So if you're thinking about calling in, maybe hold off until next week because I got a hard out, but I'm going to bleed over that hard out to talk to William at the end here. So Elvis is coming in the building. Elvis, how you doing, man?
No, mate. I'm good, mate. How are you? Can you hear me clearly, Rob?
Yes, sir. Coming through. I like it.
All the way from Australia, mate.
Ah, beautiful. I love it. That's what time is it over there in Australia right now?
It's a 11:45, midday. So it's still we're Friday and you guys are Thursday, I guess.
That's right. Oh, right. Yes, you are into Friday. You're celebrating the start of the weekend already.
Yes, already, yeah.
Love it. Love it, man.
It's my first time ever doing something like this.
I'm glad that you called in. This is 2 first-timers in a row, and the second one is a freaking international call. I'm as happy as can be. This really made my day, Elvis.
Yeah, no, I enjoy your content. I enjoy listening to you. The first time I ever got interested in this, I catch yours and Grant's show together.
Oh, very cool. Yes, the Schuh show that we do on Fridays. We will be doing that tomorrow as well.
Yeah, and then I just I just kind of got into that. I follow you. I follow Grant, Jason, some of the other guys. You know what I mean? This year was my first year actually getting into all this kind of podcast stuff. Yes. And yeah, man, I'm loving it. You know what I mean? Because, obviously in Australia, there's not, I don't know, a lot of fans, but I know there's a lot of faithful here. But at the same time, it's good for like myself to get out there, like just to like encourage other Niner faithful to follow you guys. You know what I mean? Follow the rest of the faithful that are spreading the love and the news about our team.
I love it. I love it. We got Milo here in the comments saying g'day from Sydney. So we got someone in the chat hailing from Australia as well, man. I'm loving the international love.
That's it, man. Like with this Jimmy stuff, I just don't really get it, eh? Like watching from obviously when the last game when he did his little conference saying that he's goodbyes and stuff like that, and going through all the trades and stuff like that with all the other QBs going, and then at the same time, hearing what our coach Carl had to say.
Right,
man. To me, I think, and then Jimmy pulling off the surgery like late within the trade stuff. I was just like, man, this guy's, to me, looking at it all, like I think Jimmy kind of sabotaged his trade. Like he didn't want to go. I think the Niners wanted to get rid of him, but there's certain teams like we were talking about before, like he didn't want to go to. I think he personally wanted to go to Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh didn't want to bar him. No way.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame him either. That would have been my preferred destination if I were Jimmy Garoppolo as well.
Yeah, and I think Washington was the team that they wanted to trade him to, and I think he said, "Nah, I'm going to get this surgery and stuff is."
Yeah, I think I'm torn between Jimmy either feeling like, hey, the 49ers weren't looking out for my best interests throughout this year. They were looking out for themselves. So, I'm going to do this to sort of spite them. That could be a possibility. That doesn't jive quite as well with what I know of Jimmy, but it doesn't mean that someone can't respond negatively to, to perceived slights. And certainly Jimmy could have perceived what the 49ers did to him throughout last year and bringing in his replacement and in trying to trade him. He could have perceived that as a slight against himself and could react poorly. But I think that the more likely scenario for me personally is believing that Jimmy just wasn't thinking about the Niners at that point. Like the doctors came to him and said, hey, the rehab isn't working. We think you should get surgery. And we recommend that at this point in time. And Jimmy said, well, if I'm thinking about the 49ers, then I'd hold off, wait for the trade to happen, and then go. But I'm sure he said to himself, I don't care about the 49ers at this point. Like, they haven't cared about me for a few months now. I'm going to do what's best for Jimmy and get the surgery right now. But it could have inadvertently hurt him in all of the market drying up, right? He may not have realized the unintended consequences of it.
Definitely. And at the same time, like, after Trey's game in week 17, Kyle could have easily went with Trey. Easily. Yes. You know what I mean? But he did Jimmy the favor by saying, here, we'll let you finish out the season. Try to build up your stocks because he knew that he was going. Mm-hmm. And you know what I mean? And then, it's not like the Niners didn't do him a favor. They did him a favor by allowing him to finish out the season. Because the way Trey played, from week 5, he's starting. Week 4 was it? I think week 4 to week 17. The big jump and leap that he said. Even Carl said it in his last interview.
Yes,
he can easily start with trade. You know what I mean? Right. So, I just to me, I was kind of disappointed in what Jimmy did then with his surgery, right. Because obviously with one of the other reports, they're saying his surgery wasn't really, really major. You know what I mean? He could get it done later and got traded. But, yeah. I guess a lot of the teams see the writing on the wall.
Oh, we just lost your audio there. Oh, you may have gotten a call coming in there.
Yeah. No, I just hang up on. I can't miss this out.
They just got denied. They're like, wait a minute. I see you on TV. You're like, yeah, I'm still on TV. I'm still on TV.
Leave me alone. I'm having my time. No, but, yeah. I just hope we actually get someone when I saw Bobby Wagner's signing, I was like, man, we got to at least sign at least one more veteran. I think for our DBs.
Is that where I was just going to ask if you had the power to tell the 49ers who you wanted them to get, or at least what position group you would want them to address, if they could bring in one impact signing, who would you say? Or what position group do you think needs to be addressed still? What's the most glaring issue?
I wouldn't mind bringing in Tyrann Mathieu.
Okay,
And
I like that.
I think it's a good combination for Jimmy Ward, because then it allows Jimmy to do what he does best: roam around and smash everyone. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And he doesn't
Jimmy's
mind
a tackler.
that. Yeah, and he doesn't mind that. You know what I mean? And I think it kind of because look, if we keep on bringing in young DBs, like, you know what I mean, we're just still kind of like waiting for them to develop. And if they don't, you know what I mean, and it'll be probably too late. There goes our chance, you know, heading into the playoffs.
Right. I like that idea. My concern is that the 49ers, even if they free up Jimmy's salary, that they won't use that salary cap right away, that they are being, in their mind, they're being prudent, which to most of us would mean that they're being a little bit conservative or overly conservative, depending on your view of it, and that they may want to confirm what they have in this team, because they got a lot of new coaches. They got a lot of depth pieces that they're going to count on as starters, it would appear, and they're transitioning to a new quarterback. So I could see them saying to themselves, hey, let's go slowly here, see what we got, confirm it, and then make some aggressive moves. So I'm holding out hope that that's the case, but I think, to me, I don't anticipate they spend that money even once they get Jimmy off of the books.
Can you kind of see a scenario where Jimmy might stay?
I have to acknowledge there is a possibility. There is a possibility. I still think that it's like 0.1%. I believe that the 49ers, if faced with Jimmy's salary becomes guaranteed next week, do we keep him? Do we cut him? I think at that point they would cut him. But I believe they are willing to hold on to him up until that point, up until the very end.
Yeah, I feel the same way too. I'm probably the same with you. But if hopefully there's not going to be a chance that he's still on the roster. But if he does, you know what I mean? If he's going to, I think it'll be worse off for him, because if Trey is what we all think he is, then Jimmy's going to lose a lot of stock, big time. You know what I mean? It's just going to drop. You know, and I don't see much teams trade up for a backup when they see Trey playing the way that we all think he can.
No. Because at that point, they know it's only a matter of time before the 49ers say to themselves, we don't need Jimmy. We don't need a backup, an overqualified backup, and he gets released.
Yeah, exactly.
I dig it. Elvis, this has been a fantastic call, man. I'm so thrilled that you decided to call in.
Appreciate it, man. Much love. Keep up the work, man. I love following you. I love listening to all your content and everything about our team. So, yeah, hopefully we can really get on the right path with the team.
Yes, we will make this happen again, Elvis. I hope to hear you calling in the future, my friend.
Definitely, 100%, Grant. Sorry, Rob.
Hey, that's okay, man. You can compare me to Grant. I'm okay with that. That man's blown up. I'll take that.
Yeah,
I appreciate it, Elvis.
Big time.
I will see you again in the near future, my friend. Enjoy the rest of your Friday over there in Australia.
Definitely. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, we are bringing William Bennett in. Just got a couple of comments I'm going to get to first, and then we are closing out on William. We're not shortchanging William. William gets the overtime. That's what William gets. Brian Culp coming in. This is one perspective of it from fans. Rob, the Niners owners and organization are completely comfortable keeping Jimmy G. It's not a popular opinion, but the owners like Jimmy. Expect Jimmy to be on the team this year. That's one side of it, right? And then here we go. JG1 coming in. Jimmy G will be cut by the start of the season. Trey starts, so no way they pay him $27 million. Some team will pick him up for somewhere around $14 million as a starter. If picked as a backup, maybe $5 million. So you have these sort of divided camps within the 49ers fans' locker room that both feel very correct. And I think it's a confusing situation, and it's a big bluff by the 49ers. I do understand that there's a possibility he's on the Niners into next season, but I tend to agree a little more with JG1 in that I believe they'll cut him before the beginning of the season, but their major preference would be to trade him. I got to bring in Melvin to do the good deed because we got a lot of people watching right now. Smash the like button for Rob before he signs out, please. Before you head out, hit that like button to help me amplify the signal on this one. All right, I got a super chat. If it's a question, we are bringing – oh, look at this. I'm bringing this in, and I'm reading it with William. First of all, going to bring in William and say what's up. What's up, William Bennett? How you doing, my friend?
How's everybody doing? How's everyone doing?
Hey, cheers, brother. Let me get that in focus. There we go. There it is.
Can you hear me? No echo?
No echo. It's sounding good on my end. People can put in the chat how they're hearing it there, man. How are you doing this Thursday? You're on the East Coast, so for you, Thursday night. We're getting all the international calls. I'm fired up right now, William. I'm fired up. How are things in Washington, D.C.?
Well, right now in the DMV, we're getting a tornado warning. But
ooh, stay safe.
But,
stay low.
I'm in for the night.
Man, don't go anywhere. Batten down the hatches, my friend. Batten down the hatches.
Hey, I tell you, this whole 49ers drama is causing everything causing the weather to go crazy.
Weather patterns are out of whack. I'm going to bring in Jaguayo's comment here. It's not a topic for us, but I just want to read it because it's very kind, and then we'll jump into what you want to talk about the Niners. Jaguayo 56, Sneakerhead here on the channel coming in. At Rob Schuh, just wanted to tell you that when I'm feeling down, I wait for your show, and afterwards I have a rush of positivity. Thank you, sir. Jaguayo, I just want to take a moment to say, me too. Like, if I'm feeling down, I know I'm going to have a show coming up, and I get this natural high that occurs from interacting with fellow 49ers fans, from picking up my energy and having a dialogue, and especially when I'm connecting like this, whether it's through the chat or face-to-face, as I am with William right now. But I, too, really feel a surge after doing these, and so that makes me happy to hear that other people view that positive energy as well. So wanted to say thank you for that. But now the focus is you, William. William, what do you got on your mind? What was your interpretation of some of these comments? Like, where's your head at with the 49ers right now?
Man, my head was
a telling sigh right there, William. That was a telling sigh. He said,
I mean, I sat and watched Jed's comments, then I watched Kyle's, then I watched John's, and it seems like a script. It seemed like they sat down and had a script. That whole thing Jed's talking about Joe Montana and Steve Young references a bunch of bull.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know Jimmy's not Joe Montana. And we're hoping that Trey has some of Steve Young.
Yes. Even just a little bit would be fantastic.
Just a little bit. I mean, because you gotta understand, you can't compare right now. You can't compare what they're doing with Trey. Oh, Trey can sit for another year with Steve Young, because Steve Young sat for 3 years. Steve Young had already had a full college career. Right. He already was on an NFL team when he came over to the 49ers. He was not a brand new rookie going through a pandemic who had only 19 snaps.
That's right. He had some experience under his belt.
Right. It is a difference.
It is.
Kyle and John looks frustrated. They look really peeved off because there's a lot of moves going on right now. And every time I see one, I can't say, oh, well, maybe we are, because Jimmy's still here. Right. I think we're like, what, $1 million over the cap right now?
Yeah, $1 million and change. But it basically stops us from signing anyone without having to do a signing first. We need to renegotiate someone's contract before we could bring anyone other than one of the like vet minimum salaries. Because, anything... It's only the top 51 contracts that count against the cap right now, and the lowest contract on there is somewhere around $900K. So you could sign a guy for $1 million, and that would only technically cost you $100K more against the cap than you are already up against it. But with only $1 million and change, the Niners are done with any splashy signings unless we see a restructure first or a trade.
And to me, it's like we got to sit back and watch us lose people. We got to sit back and watch players go to other teams. Like now.
You know who stole my heart. You know who stole my heart.
Hey, look, I'm not even going to get into DJ Jones because during the round table, that's all I was talking about. Yeah. DJ Jones. I had no even thought that we were going to keep Tomlinson because I knew his price tag was going to be too high. But I was like, if we can keep DJ Jones that'll be
huge.
Be huge for us. Don't get me wrong. I'm hoping Kinlaw becomes this animal that everybody and he's saying that he will be.
Yes.
But even at his healthiest, it's already said that he's not really a pass rusher. He's a run stopper.
He's going to clog up the double teams in the middle. He's going to eat them up if he's at the top of his game.
When you see these quarterbacks run out to the side, trust me, it won't be Kinlaw chasing them down like DJ Jones.
No, I wouldn't think no big man has quick feet like DJ Jones. He is. He's just crazy.
You got to understand, DJ Jones went to Denver because who do you think? Like I said before, Russell Wilson was like, "Oh, we have a shot at him." That dude folded me up like a suitcase all season. Get him, and you see where he is.
Yes,
everybody else is. I mean, oh my goodness, Jimmy. I mean, I'm not mad at Jimmy because he got to do what's best for him.
Yes, that's right. Jimmy's got to take care of Jimmy.
Yeah, but I don't like the way this is playing out.
No,
it's no possible way. It's no way you can convince me that it's a good thing to have Jimmy on the roster during soon as the training camp comes.
Nope. You can't sell me on that either.
You signed Nate Sudfeld for $2 million to sit on the bench. Now you telling me you'll have Jimmy sitting on the bench with 27? Are you serious?
That would be a nightmare.
What kind of team are we gonna have? We can't even really address things we need to.
The allocation of resources from a business standpoint there is atrocious, right? I mean, to have that type of money secured for a backup position and to cause the human stress, the human capital cost of the stress on Trey Lance and the locker room and the fan base and the coaching staff. I mean, I look at Kyle Shanahan, and that man was hungover as all get out at that coach's breakfast. His eyes were so red, and I swear I saw him choke back a little bit, like, okay, all right, I answer this question. And my guess is that he's under a little more stress because of the fact that it's Trey and Jimmy still in the room, and that he may be letting that out through a little excessive drinking, right? So everybody needs a break from this, me included.
Hey, Jed can say what he wants. Kyle can say what he wants. John can say what he wants. But you know where the buck stops? Big Daddy John.
Yes, John Sr., John York.
Stops. But I'm going to just say this one thing about the Yorks. You got to understand something. The Yorks is not a football family. They're a football family, but not American football family.
Right.
The Niners was just an acquisition to make some capital. Really, the Yorks are a soccer team family.
Yeah, well, they got sucked into it because of Denise DeBartolo York, right? It was the legal trouble for Eddie DeBartolo where he tried to bribe a state official of some sort to get a riverboat gambling operation going. And as all billionaires do, right? Just throw a little money at the problem. He got caught. And the NFL said, no, Eddie, you can't be the owner of the 49ers anymore. So Denise took it over, right? And Denise is married to John York, and that's how Jed comes into the equation, his uncle being Eddie D.
Well, let me ask you this. Saying as though Eddie can't own the team and Denise is married to John, isn't it possible that they can hire Eddie to run the team? Is that against the rules?
I would think that after all the time that has passed, the NFL could allow Eddie back in.
I believe they just passed the embargo to where that Eddie was under, that he couldn't be affiliated with the team.
I would lose my shit, William, if Eddie DeBartolo came back to the 49ers. That would be phenomenal. I mean, it would reinvigorate the fan base like you cannot imagine, sir. I would be thrilled.
I'm gonna take the words from a very young Billy Crystal skit. It would be marvelous.
Yes, simply marvelous.
But
Yes, it would.
I mean, it's time to move on. You gotta understand something. The thing that makes Jimmy so lucrative to the Niners is not his skill set. People tend to forget Jimmy's a very good-looking guy. Looks like Superman. Looked like he flew in and saved the day of this organization.
He does have that chin of Superman for sure. The original Superman from back in the original Christopher Reeve. For sure.
And the thing that Jimmy does for the 49ers, it's not his talent. It's his marketability.
He is a very marketable quarterback.
He puts people butts in seats.
Yep.
And he sells jerseys.
And plays at an average starting quarterback level, right? He's not terrible. Yeah.
He's not terrible.
That's right.
You feel what I'm saying? He's a little under maybe Cousins. Yeah. He's a little under Cousins.
I think that's fair.
And that's only because Cousins will take shots down the field. Other than that, him and Jimmy is almost damn the same person to me. But it's just killing me because the Niners right now, what it seemed like, they almost ready to just throw away the season. There is like a fire sale with the Niners right now.
Explain to me why, because I'm not sure I'm with you on that one. I'll try to talk you back from the ledge on it, but tell me, like, what's your thought process for that? So the reason why
I say it's a fire sale.
Yeah.
As I said before, the best team to win a Super Bowl is not the starting cast, it's the backups. Okay. It's when those people get hurt, and it's the people that can come in and keep your show running like nobody, like it has never lost a step. That's what made us look good in 2019. It wasn't that we had so many great starters. It was when somebody got hurt, it was like, oh, here comes Streaks. Here come Bronskill. Here come all these people who can step in and keep it going like you've never lost your starters.
Yes. And so your fear is that the 49ers have not insulated themselves with enough depth as it stands right now. You feel that they're a bit of a thin team in that regard?
We're not gaining depth. We're losing depth.
Yeah, we lost starters and we're replacing them with depth pieces. And then automatically that means you have less depth pieces because now you're counting on them to be starters.
We don't have, Jimmy not only hurt us in free agency, but he's going to hurt our draft. He is. I mean, if there was ever a chance that they could have got a third for Jimmy, take it. I don't care. Take it. Forget what the neighbors say. Worry about your house.
Yeah.
Live in your house. I mean, they're laughing. People are wondering what the hell is going on with our division. Like I said, I'm over here in Washington. I got Commanders fans like, man, y'all ain't let Jimmy go yet. Y'all ain't let Jimmy go yet. I'm like, it's killing me. Yeah. I mean, I see us losing pieces, and we'll get a piece here and a piece there, but we're not getting pieces in position to make up for what we're losing.
I think that's fair in that the Niners aren't necessarily done in addressing that. I'll wait and see to sort of have a full opinion on whether we got worse or better. But I can't say with the additions we made, to me, we let the players go that financially it didn't make sense to keep. So emotionally, it was really tough for me to lose DJ Jones, Lagan Tomlinson, and especially Raheem Mostert. But of those three, the only contract I actually would want on the 49ers books is Raheem Mostert's 1-year deal for $3 million. So from a business perspective, I get those moves of letting guys go. But I agree with you in the sense that they've yet to address the losses of having to promote guys into those starting roles. So, Javon Kinlaw didn't play much. So if he takes up for the slack for DJ Jones, you could say that that's a net neutral because he contributed basically nothing last season. And if he can replace DJ Jones, that would be phenomenal. But for left guard in particular, you're now talking about what was viewed as one of our backup key depth pieces that you're talking about is now going to be counted on to be a starter. So until we draft someone or sign a veteran later on, I agree that we've lost some depth there.
I'm going to say this. And as I have said, yes, we're great at taking other people's what they consider trash.
Yeah,
and
like
making
Lakin
them
Tomlinson.
stop. But I just hate that we have to wait on that wait and see.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe.
Here's the date. Here's the date I think Niners fans need to pencil in, because I just looked at, I think I retweeted it. If you look at their compensatory draft picks for this year, it seems like the Niners are playing that game. They washed out the one serious draft pick that compensatory third rounder that we would have gotten. Lakin Tomlinson was canceled out by Charvarius Ward. So we would have gotten the third for Lakin leaving, but we signed Ward. So those canceled. And then I think we got like a fifth, a sixth, and 2 7ths projected as compensatory picks. So the date I think we all need to keep our eyes on, as I just read it recently, is May 10th. Any free agents still available after May 10th, that's after the draft, obviously, don't count against the compensatory draft pick formula. So my guess is a lot like 2011, you'll see some guys signed that could have some impact, like a Carlos Rogers, a Dante Whitner, some of those things we did late in 2011 after you had gotten past the compensatory draft pick formula cutoff date. I think that's the key that we have to look at for this year. And the shitty thing is, pardon my French, I know I'm cursing on this one, but it just means we have to be patient, that we've got some waiting to do to see how this offseason shakes out.
My thing is this. I believe we have talent on this team.
I agree. That I agree with.
It's like the NBA. We're playing like the NBA right now. We're playing to where we don't want to let our rookies learn. I mean, at some point, you got to let the rookies learn. The way they talked about Thomas in the beginning of the season, you would have thought that Thomas was the biggest bust ever. You was like, oh my gosh, you hear more about Lenore. Oh my gosh, Thomas can't even practice well. Come on. And then all of a sudden, he's winning games for us. But that came with reps.
Yes, got to get the reps.
Instead of, like I said, I don't know what we're doing, because it's teams that I'm like, we're overwhelmingly beating this team. Why don't you have rookies in here right now? Like Jacksonville. Why wasn't Trey in that game?
Right. Why didn't we get them those reps?
I'm not like this. I'm not even, a lot of people, and don't get me wrong, I like Raheem, but I wasn't really tripping off him leaving. I mean, honestly, I wasn't
because
really
of the injury
tripping.
history.
It wasn't even that. The thing to me was, it was the injury history, and I just felt it was time to move on from that 2019 squad. He was a part of that. Hey, great, Raheem. We looked to see what you was going to do, but you stay hurt. I mean, get through, but you stay hurt.
Yeah.
And what good is talent that's sitting on the bench?
My fear is that he doesn't get hurt this season, and we see what he can do with a full healthy season, and it just becomes hard to watch because he's in McDaniel's system. He could really explode. That to me will be the tough pill to swallow. William, I would love to keep going. You know, you and I could keep chatting all day. I was supposed to cut it off at 6 p.m., but I couldn't. We just had to roll. But I got to go hang with my buddy. He's in town with his daughter. I got to go get on to dinner. It's great to see you, my friend. I hope to see you again next week. Good, sir.
Hey, if the shoe fits.
Cheers. Yes, indeed. Love having William on. Hey, thank you so much to everyone for being here. This was a great show. I appreciate all the contributions to the dialogue. I think it was a fantastic chat going as well. Love the energy there. We will be back with this program next week. As always, follow me on Twitter at the Left Shoe if you want to know what time I'm going live tomorrow. Most likely it is going to be around the 3:30 hour. But I may have to be flexible again as I have visitors in town, and will most likely be on with Grant as well tomorrow on his show. I agree with Raphael 5629ers. It was a great show. If you're still here and you haven't liked the video, hit the like button on your way out. I will be back tomorrow. Until then, cheers, Niner faithful.